Nervousness before a big conversation often feels like a storm we want to push away, but the truth is the more we fight it, the stronger it becomes. The first step in handling nervousness is acknowledging it rather than pretending it doesn't exist. When your heart is racing, your palms are sweaty, and your stomach feels tight, these are not signs of weakness. They are signals that you care deeply about the outcome. Instead of labeling those sensations as something bad, you can shift your perspective and see them as your body preparing you with extra energy, sharpening your senses, and heightening your awareness. Accepting nervousness as a natural human response allows you to step into the moment with less resistance and more confidence in your ability to manage what you feel. Think about the times you were nervous before a big event, maybe before giving a presentation, having a difficult talk, or stepping into an important interview. Those nerves always came because the situation mattered to you, and if it didn't matter, you wouldn't feel anything at all. By acknowledging this truth, you begin to understand that nervousness is actually proof of your investment, proof that the moment has meaning, and proof that you are bringing your full self into it. This shift in perspective is powerful because it removes the shame that so often comes with nerves. You don't need to hide it, you don't need to apologize for it. You only need to see it for what it is, energy trying to help you rise to the occasion. When you acknowledge nervousness, you also give yourself permission to manage it instead of being consumed by it. If you ignore it, the tension builds. Your mind overanalyzes every small detail, and you get stuck in a cycle of overthinking. But if you pause and admit, yes, I feel nervous, you break that cycle. You disarm the fear because you've named it, and what we name becomes less intimidating. It's no longer this invisible force taking control of you. It's something you can work with. In fact, acknowledging nerves gives you back control because you are the one deciding how to frame the experience. You can tell yourself, these butterflies in my stomach are a sign that I am awake, alive, and ready to connect. This acceptance also helps you become more authentic in the conversation itself. People often try to mask their nervousness by overcompensating, speaking too quickly, or pretending to be overly confident, which only increases the pressure. When you've already acknowledged your nerves, you don't feel that pressure to perform perfectly. You can show up as yourself, imperfections and all, and that honesty creates trust. Most people respect openness far more than flawless delivery. Sometimes simply admitting that you feel a little nervous can actually create a stronger bond because it shows you're human, relatable, and sincere. The key is not to let nervousness stop you from showing up, but to allow it to be part of the experience without controlling it. Reframing nervousness as energy also transforms how you use it. Instead of letting it tighten your voice or rush your words, you can channel it into presence. That racing heart can give you a burst of passion. Those tingling hands can remind you to gesture naturally. That heightened awareness can sharpen your listening skills and help you pick up on nuances in the other person's tone and body language. By acknowledging and working with your nerves, you turn what once felt like an obstacle into a tool for connection. What once felt like a weight holding you back now becomes fuel that helps you step forward. The next time nervousness rises before a big conversation, notice it. Don't fight it. Say to yourself that it's normal, that it's proof you care, that it's a sign you're invested in what's about to happen. This shift allows you to stop battling your body and start partnering with it. When you acknowledge nervousness as energy instead of weakness, you open the door to more grounded conversations, more authentic connections, and more confidence in your ability to handle moments that matter. Preparation before a big conversation is essential, but the trap many people fall into is rehearsing every single word, trying to create the perfect script in their heads. The problem with this approach is that conversations are unpredictable, and no matter how much you plan, the other person's responses will not follow your mental script. When this happens, you're left scrambling, forgetting your lines, and feeling even more nervous than before. True preparation doesn't mean memorizing sentences. It means clarifying the key points you want to express and being flexible with how they come out. When you focus on the core ideas rather than the exact wording, you give yourself room to breathe and adapt, which keeps you present in the moment rather than locked in your own head. Think about the difference between an actor reading lines and a person sharing their own story. An actor must remember the exact words, but you are not on stage. You are communicating with another human being. The more you try to stick to a rigid script, the less authentic and natural you sound. On the other hand, if you prepare by understanding what you want to express, why it matters to you, and what outcome you hope for, you can allow the words to flow in a way that fits the moment. This makes your delivery more genuine, and people respond far better to sincerity than to rehearsed perfection. Preparation should be about clarity, not about control. Over-rehearsing also creates unnecessary pressure because it sets up the expectation that everything must go exactly as planned. When it doesn't, anxiety spikes and you may freeze or stumble. But when you prepare in a balanced way, you remove that burden. You know your key points, so even if the conversation goes in an unexpected direction, you can bring it back to what matters most. This gives you the freedom to stay calm, because instead of panicking over forgotten lines, you're anchored by the essence of what you want to communicate. Preparation should serve as a safety net, not as a rigid cage that traps you. Another important part of preparation is anticipating the emotional tone of the conversation, not just the content. It's easy to prepare the facts you want to present, but it's just as valuable to prepare your state of mind. Ask yourself how you want to show up: calm, respectful, clear, compassionate. If you rehearse your emotional presence rather than just your words, you enter the conversation with greater steadiness. This also reduces nervousness because you're not just preparing for what you'll say, you're preparing for how you'll say it and how you'll respond if emotions rise. Emotional preparation often makes the difference between a tense discussion and a productive one. Another way to prepare without over-rehearsing is to practice expressing your key points out loud in different ways. Say it once with different wording, then again with a slightly different tone. This exercise trains your mind to be flexible and prevents you from clinging to one fixed script. The more you practice variety, the more comfortable you'll feel when the actual moment comes, because you'll know you can adapt. It also makes you sound natural, like you're speaking from the heart rather than reciting something you memorized. That natural flow builds confidence and reduces the weight of nerves. The goal of preparation is to build clarity and confidence, not perfection. When you prepare in this way, you walk into the conversation with the assurance that you know what you want to express and the flexibility to adjust along the way. You no longer fear forgetting your lines because there are no lines to remember, only truths to communicate. This approach transforms nervousness into calm focus and makes the conversation feel less like a performance and more like a genuine exchange, which is ultimately what leads to connection and understanding. When nervousness creeps in before a big conversation, one of the strongest ways to ease it is by shifting the focus away from yourself. Most of the anxiety comes from worrying about how you'll sound, how you'll look, or whether the other person will judge you. Your thoughts spiral around your own performance, and this self-centered lens magnifies every small mistake in your head. But when you decide to place your attention on the other person instead, the pressure begins to lift. You stop obsessing over your own flaws and start listening more deeply, paying attention to their words, their tone, and their perspective. Suddenly, the spotlight isn't burning on you anymore. It's shared, and that makes you feel lighter. Listening intently also gives you a natural rhythm in the conversation. Instead of rushing through your points just to get them over with, you allow pauses, you ask questions, you respond with thoughtfulness. This not only reduces nervousness, but also improves the quality of the interaction. People feel valued when they're truly heard, and your presence becomes more powerful when it's not consumed with self-consciousness. By focusing on understanding rather than impressing, you create an atmosphere that's more collaborative and less like a performance. It becomes a dialogue instead of a test, and that subtle shift changes how comfortable you feel. Think of how conversations go when you're with someone you trust. You're not worried about whether you're breathing too quickly or if your hands are moving too much, because your attention is fully on them. The same principle applies in bigger, more important conversations. By anchoring yourself in curiosity about the other person, what they think, how they feel, what they need, you quiet the noise of your own nerves. You remind yourself that this is not a stage with critics waiting to judge you, it's a human-to-human exchange. When your mind is on understanding them, you naturally stop overanalyzing yourself. Another benefit of shifting focus outward is that it slows down overthinking. Nervousness thrives when you keep replaying scenarios in your head, imagining every possible way you could mess up. But if you enter the conversation with the mindset that your role is to listen first and speak second, you short-circuit that cycle. You give your mind a clear purpose to gather information and respond thoughtfully. That focus keeps you grounded because you're not juggling dozens of self-critical thoughts. You're too engaged in the moment to waste energy on judging yourself, and that makes your words flow more easily when it's time to speak. This approach also builds confidence over time. The more you practice shifting focus, the less intimidating big conversations feel. You start realizing that you don't need to be the perfect speaker to have influence or respect. What people remember most is not your flawless delivery, but how you made them feel, and nothing makes someone feel more valued than being genuinely listened to. This understanding helps you walk into any conversation with a sense of calm, knowing you don't need to carry the entire weight of the interaction on your shoulders. Your job isn't to perform, it's to connect. By turning your attention toward the other person, you ease the pressure that comes with nervousness. You stop worrying about appearing perfect and instead build an environment where honesty and openness can thrive. It's a simple but powerful shift that transforms anxiety into connection, self-consciousness into curiosity, and nervous energy into meaningful presence. When nervousness shows up before a big conversation, most of it is felt physically before it is even processed mentally. The racing heart, the shallow breathing, the shaky hands, and the sudden tightness in your chest are signals from your body that adrenaline is kicking in. If you don't address these physical responses, they can spiral into mental panic, making you feel like you're losing control. That's why learning to calm your body is one of the most effective ways to ease nervousness. Simple techniques like slow, steady breathing send signals to your nervous system that you are safe, and this physical reset gives your mind the space to think clearly. Breathing techniques are especially powerful because they can be used anywhere without anyone noticing. By inhaling deeply through your nose, holding for a few seconds, and exhaling slowly through your mouth, you bring your body back to balance. This kind of controlled breathing lowers your heart rate, relaxes your muscles, and creates a sense of grounding. It doesn't erase the nerves, but it lowers the intensity enough for you to step into the conversation with a calmer state of mind. Even practicing this for a few minutes before speaking can completely shift how your body feels in the moment. Posture also plays a big role in managing the physical symptoms of nervousness. When people are anxious, they often shrink into themselves, crossing their arms, slouching, or making themselves smaller without realizing it. These positions send signals back to your brain that you're unsafe, which fuels the anxiety even more. By standing tall, relaxing your shoulders, and keeping your body open, you counteract that message. This isn't about faking confidence. It's about using your body to remind your mind that you are stable and capable. Good posture also helps with breathing, making it easier to stay grounded as you speak. Grounding techniques are another tool to calm nerves physically. When your thoughts are racing and your body feels tense, grounding pulls you back into the present moment. One way to do this is by focusing on physical sensations, pressing your feet into the ground, noticing the feeling of the chair under you, or touching something solid like a pen or notebook. These small actions redirect your attention away from spiraling thoughts and anchor you in reality. They remind you that you are not lost in your fears. You are right here in control of your body and ready to move forward. These physical practices not only reduce nervousness in the moment, but also build resilience over time. The more you use them, the more your body learns how to respond calmly under pressure. Eventually, your nervous system starts recognizing that these conversations are not threats but opportunities. This shift helps you develop a calmer baseline, so even before the nerves arrive, you already have tools ready to keep them manageable. It's about training your body to work with you rather than against you when it matters most. By focusing on calming the body, you create a pathway to calming the mind. Nervousness might still show up, but instead of letting your body spiral into panic, you can guide it back to steadiness. When your breathing slows, your posture is open, and your senses are grounded, you enter the conversation from a place of control. This physical foundation allows you to think more clearly, listen more attentively, and express yourself with greater confidence, all because you chose to handle the body first. Visualization is one of the most powerful ways to handle nervousness before a big conversation because the mind responds to imagined scenarios almost as strongly as it does to real ones. Most of the time, nerves intensify because we are unconsciously rehearsing negative outcomes, picturing ourselves stumbling, forgetting our words, or being misunderstood. These mental images create more fear and convince the body to react with anxiety. But if you intentionally visualize the conversation going well, you begin to train your brain to expect success instead of failure. This positive rehearsal helps replace fear with calm and gives you a sense of control over how you show up. The key is not just to think vaguely about a good outcome, but to picture it in detail. Imagine yourself walking into the room with steady breathing, greeting the other person with ease, and speaking with clarity. See the other person nodding, listening, and responding in a way that shows they understand you. Even imagining small details like the sound of your voice being steady or the feeling of calm in your chest reinforces your confidence. The brain doesn't easily distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience, so practicing success in your mind lays the foundation for experiencing it in reality. Visualization also helps shift your focus from fear to possibility. Instead of bracing yourself for everything that could go wrong, you begin to believe in what could go right. This doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending the conversation will be effortless, but it means choosing to give more energy to the vision of a constructive outcome. By holding this image, you enter the conversation with a mindset of opportunity rather than one of dread. That shift alone can calm nerves because your attention is no longer dominated by worst-case scenarios. Another benefit of visualization is that it creates emotional rehearsal. When you imagine yourself staying calm in a stressful moment, your body begins to learn that response. You are not just picturing the conversation, you are training your nervous system to stay steady. Over time, this practice builds a stronger association between big conversations and calm focus, instead of fear and panic. That emotional training means that when the real moment comes, your body already recognizes the pattern and follows it more naturally. To make visualization effective, consistency matters. Practicing it once before a conversation can help, but practicing regularly transforms how you approach all important discussions. It becomes a mental habit that prepares you not only for this one conversation, but for many others in the future. By repeatedly picturing yourself succeeding, you slowly build an inner identity of someone who handles conversations with calm and clarity. This identity shift reduces nervousness at its root because you no longer see yourself as someone who struggles, but as someone who is capable and prepared. Visualization is not about predicting the exact script of what will happen. It is about creating the internal conditions to meet any outcome with steadiness. When you see yourself showing up with calm, clarity, and presence, you're programming your mind to respond in that way when it counts. Nervousness may still appear, but it will not dominate you because your brain has already rehearsed a more empowering response. Through consistent positive imagery, you set yourself up to approach conversations with more confidence, more composure, and a stronger belief that you can handle whatever unfolds.